Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a lovely day. So, I wanted to take a second to discuss the Marathon situation and a very disturbing reality with a parent company of Sony that kind of involves this. So, obviously, by now, we have a self-admitted by Bungie, right? I think the allegedly can be dropped at this point in time, use of an artist's art to kind of have the core design of Marathon. So, obviously, at this point in time, the internet's in an uproar, reasonably so. This is also another story about, giant corpo entity, something, line go up, maximize profit at any cost, something, causing issues, something, we're not paying our artists, right? I mean, there's a lot of commentaries here. Don't think I'm making light of this situation. This is a very serious situation. I take things like this very seriously. Now, I wanted to discuss, because we are dealing with a large corporation such as Sony, I wanted to kind of throw my hat in the ring at a potential in regards to what could happen legally. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, not any sort of legal professional. I would recommend seeking the help of a legal professional if you have any sort of legal queries. So, the interaction in mind is that when we talk about Marathon and they're already, this is unexisting to us, which to my I personally do not in any way, shape, or form accept this as a stance. I do not accept this as the truth. I do not accept this as any sort of excuse personally. In my own personal subjective opinion, Marathon definitely did know, Bungie knew, and by extension Sony did know, because they okayed the project and it's this far along in development, up to at this point in time, 4 months until release. So all of those out of the way. At this point in time, we have them reaching out to this artist, right? And the problem I see here is that, especially with a game like this, so close to release, the issue that I run into is that the artist can and will be bullied and or harassed. And not necessarily from a malicious, you're going to say that it's okay section, right? My concern comes down to the legal side of things, where if, said artist decides, I would like to potentially pursue legal action, right? That is going to be a very costly endeavor. That's going to be an endeavor that takes time. That also, in my professional opinion, would not stop Marathon from releasing anyways, and thus you're tied up in litigation, especially when, you're having to deal with Sony tier lawyers, because remember, Bungie is owned by Sony now, as of this point in time. So the issue that I can foresee happening is, even though this is, the artist portfolio, will Sony Legal have any sort of, we do own the Marathon IP and your art is derivative of it, even though you've done it for the past 10 years, therefore we actually own this. And I think we need to make sure that we, proceed to discovery and make sure that we have all these legal proceedings to continue with this discussion, which is very costly and is completely unfair when Bungie and by extension Sony are the offenders in this situation. Once again, I do not believe for a second that Bungie did not know. I don't believe for a second that Sony did not know. This has to go through legal. This has to go through many meetings before posts even come out, right? And for a post like this from the quote-unquote Marathon dev team to come out, this is one of those that, sure, this was probably fast-tracked through legal, because Sony legal is probably like, oh, crap, why I don't see this. And the fear at this point becomes, and this can set more of a precedent as well. It might start with Bungie/Sony today, but how long before we have Nintendo? Well, we're not going to allow. We're going to copyright strike this video, as we do not allow any sort of derivative use of our work. Back in the day, we had the Nintendo program, did we not? About Wii U, 3DS era, right? You had to be a creator, right? Authorized by Nintendo. Your channel had to be authorized to upload Nintendo content, right? Now, I think that, and I've made my stance known on that pretty clear, especially when we start talking about things like, the day Tears of the Kingdom releases, I could not get it because it was still not able to be downloaded for the next hour. I kept myself so spoiler free. I didn't watch trailers. I didn't really do a whole heck of a lot. I think I watched the 3 release trailers, but that's about it, right? I don't want to be spoiled on games. I love, people want to be spoiled. I don't want to be spoiled. But to have a Nintendo, to have an account, just upload the full game movie, right? Like a 4-hour set, clip of just cutscenes, to YouTube before I can even get my hands on the game, I think is a little egregious. So I think that that's more of an abuse and an unintended effect of the system, right? But for all intents and purposes, we're in a lot better of a state where you can say upload a Rare Candy Eevee IV guide, right? From Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or you can upload your gameplay, your machinations, and your engineering feats in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the King specifically, right? Without having to deal with that. Now we do obviously run into the alleged litigious nature of Nintendo, where we have Nintendo copywriting Nintendo of America, and thus it is a valid interaction because Nintendo would have to litigate against Nintendo of America. Therefore, it can just be a no-fault situation, and therefore the copyright can be dropped. So we already have precedent of large gaming corporations, large gaming companies doing things like this. What the part that I have to talk about, and a lot of people need to really figure out and honestly have these discussions, is where this goes from here, right? It starts with Bungie and it starts with Sony today. Is it going to be Nintendo tomorrow? Because Nintendo's already in some hot water in regards to EULA changes, in regards to business practices, withholding information during Nintendo Direct, right? Nintendo not necessarily in a good light right now. But is it going to be Activision tomorrow, right? You're going to have somebody criticizing the new Call of Duty, and it's going to be seen as a work derivative of that, and they're going to, well, we need to investigate these concerns, or with skins, right? AI skins, and maybe getting too legally distinct, right? And it's like, well, we take these very seriously. We need to make sure we're talking, quote unquote, with the plaintiff. We need to make sure we're talking with people who are saying that this is not okay. How long before this gets normalized, right? Because we already have, we'll probably do a video on it, the whole Darth Vader situation in Fortnite, where Darth Vader dropping the maddest slurs in the actual James Earl Jones voice, and how long before we're going to have, an AI, even though Master Chief's voice actor does still exist, obviously, right? He has a YouTube channel. How long before we have AI Master Chief? How long before we have, AI renditions of characters, right? How long before, once again, we have people on YouTube, like Star Wars Theory, trying to do, an AI Mark Hamill again, right? Especially if Mark Hamill is not there to contest or to protest, right? I think that this opens up a Pandora's box, and I guess the box is already open up, right? But all in all, I think my concerns at this point in time are that, especially because it's Bungie, and especially because Bungie has a track record in regards to the Zivo Routh artwork, in regards to the was it the Final Shape artwork? It might have been in Lightfall. I can't remember the artwork that was in question though. That was ripped for a cutscene, as well as the Ace of Spades nerf, and now some of those were dismissed as like the Ace of Spades one. The firm they went through. It sounds like we thought this was official Bungie art. I disagree. There's these have to go through checks. This is not a way to conduct business in a way that is sound, in my opinion. But I guess that we're at a point where I think a lot of people are finally frustrated with Bungie. I myself am frustrated with Bungie. I personally am not playing Destiny 2, not because I'm just playing Warframe, but I don't know if there's anything lifted from there. And this is the problem we run into. And this is the final point that I'll get into. When you are caught doing something like this, if I was, say, caught plagiarizing a video, right? Like, say if I took like a Fat Electrician video and I word for word did it and just redid it, right? Like, that puts everything else you've done into suspect, right? Well, Kip, how much else have you lifted? How many other creators have you done? Is this your own talking point, or is this a talking point you think you want people to hear, right? Thus, going, from a personal perspective into the corporate perspective, how do I know that a Telesto skin just isn't ripped from some fan art? How do I know that the story, say for whatever next season / expansion is going to be unique and not lifted from some other situation, right? Everything becomes suspect, and personally, I would rather spend my money with someone, with a company who's going to, I feel, respect my time. I'm enjoying Warframe right now, so yeah, I'll go buy your Ellie Prime. But like going into Destiny, I don't know what's lifted, and I think that's an improper allegation to say that, well, things are just lifted, right? It's the understanding and the fear that work has just been stolen, right? It's just been lifted. It's just been whatever, right? And I don't want to support that. I don't want to necessarily support AI-generated skins. Not saying that Destiny does have them, but what I'm saying is there are things that I won't support. I don't want to support legally distinct AI-generated Call of Duty skin. I don't want to support, literally lifting an entire art style from an artist and thus having to have what I assume is not just your PR team, but your legal team as well, reaching out to the artist, right? So at the end of the day, come to your own conclusion. Come to your own educated analysis on these subjects and make sure you can defend it, right? This is why I don't want to play Destiny, whether that's going to be rah, 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 or this is why I do play Destiny, point ABC, right? Or if you're just like, I this was the final straw for Bungie because at the end of the day, this isn't the first time they've been caught doing something like this. They do have off Sony money that if worse came to worse, say the artist did try to, have litigate, could just stall this out to the heat death of the universe and end up having to settle, and thus the game comes out and nothing actually happens at the end of it. And that's a possibility that can happen, right? Come to your own conclusion. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.